Hi folks, it's David Ostriker in very hot, very sunny Karmiel. Here we had our water shut off. We don't know why, for the whole city. But it's back now. It's a little bit scary. Right? We've just finished the holiday associated with the Kabbalah with Shimon Bar Yochai, Lag BaOmer, 33rd day of the Omer. And now we're going into Shabbos Bechukosai. Bechukosai, people tremble with fear because of it. It's the Parsha of the Tochacha, the Parsha of the curses. And they are dreadful, dreadful curses. And we have seen those curses fulfilled. And they should be behind us, and we should move forward towards Shavuos with brachot going onward. But there's a very interesting element in Parsha Bechukosai. At the very end of the curses, God tells the Jewish people, I will remember my Yaakov Brit, my Jacob covenant, my Jacob contract. And I will also remember my Yitzchak Brit, my agreement with Yitzchak, my contract with Yitzchak, my covenant with Yitzchak. And I will remember my Abraham Brit, my agreement with Abraham. And I will remember the land. What is this about? Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch has a brilliant explanation for this. And although he did not live in our times, he lived more than 100 years ago. His thoughts are prophetic. This choice of wording, Yaakov, then Yitzchak, then Abraham, flips everything. Who are we? We are the children of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. It rolls off the tongue because we say it in all of our davening, and we describe it that way. We don't describe it as we are the sons of Yaakov, Yitzchak, and Abraham, but rather Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Why is it flipped like this? Rav Hirsch asks us to look at each of the Avos, each of the fathers. And he notes that Abraham was tremendously successful, a towering figure historically. Religions describe themselves as Abrahamic, not just Judaism. Also Christianity, also Islam. They claim him as their father as well. How do we understand this? In spite of his great wealth and his towering spirituality, so much so that he in Sarah, it says, made thousands, 10,000 souls came to monotheism because of them. And it seems nobody is jealous of Abraham. In spite of his great material wealth and great spiritual accomplishments, what do they call him? They call him a prince of God. Beautiful. His son also did very well. Yitzchak was very successful, but it wasn't the same. There's a lot of jealousy with Yitzchak. They covered up the wells. They made his life difficult. He was much more inward than his father was. And maybe he was forced to be so. And his son? His son, Yaakov? His son, Yaakov, went into exile with Lavan. He struggled with his brother. He struggled with Lavan. He lost his dearest son, Joseph, only to reclaim him towards the end of his life. Lived out his life in Mitzrayim, in Egypt, again in exile. Described his life as very hard to Pharaoh when asked. Not easy. Not easy. So there seems to be a descent from Abraham to Yitzchak to Yaakov in terms of the quality of their life, and really how they are with neighbors and the rest of the world. Rav Hirsch is saying this idea of the Brit of Yaakov, the Brit of Yitzchak, and the Brit of Abraham is to tell us that the process of redemption is the opposite of the process of exile and dispersion. Yes, we will live in pain and exile, in the exile of Yaakov. Comes first and is the longest, the harshest, the most painful, filled with murder and blood, loneliness and exile. But eventually we will overcome that. And we will be in the exile of Yitzchak. The nations will back off. They'll give us what we have, but they will be jealous of our success. The nations will long for the Jew that is a victim that they can feel sorry for. They won't like the Jew that is Yitzchak, who is powerful and towering and fearful and powerful and strong. This Yitzchak, they will be jealous of. They will be hostile to. But they will be hesitant to mess with him too much. And this Yitzchak period will be a period of loneliness, even in spite of our success. And it will be followed by the final stages of Abraham and the land. When the nations will realize what it is that we are and will cling to us in order to accomplish their own ends. And the world will become the place that it can be. The world of Abraham, when Abraham rules, is a world that really is messianic. It's a world of accomplishment. It's a world of the end of disease, of the end of hunger, of peace. Where are we now? I would venture to say we're in Yitzchak. The terrible Shoah, the Holocaust, for which we paid so much, right, is behind us. The curses of Bechukosai are behind us. We now have a state. Things are not complete either spiritually or materially. But we have sovereignty. And for many, many years, the nation showed us that kind of hostility and jealousy for which Yitzchak was pained. But it seems to be changing, little bit by little bit. People realizing what it is that Israel has, what we can offer, and what we can give to the world and want to give to the world. And as the Yitzchak period turned into the Abraham period, and the land itself, I will remember the land itself becomes redeemed completely. Shemitah, Yovel, the completion of the return of the people, the fulfillment of the potential. This then is a promise made at the end of the curses, but perhaps it is the ultimate blessing for us as well as for all of mankind and the world. Give it some thought when you read this sentence at the end of the Tochacha. David Ostriker, here in Karmiel, wishing you a thoughtful and a good Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom. Be well.